All right. Well, today we have a special guest here, Brian Fullerton with Brian's Lawn Maintenance. And if you're within the green industry, which all of you are, I'm sure many of you know Brian. He does awesome, YouTube videos, runs a great company, you know, puts out a lot of great content out there. So thank you for joining us tonight, Brian.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me on. Always great catching up with you guys anytime I do. And yeah, I'm excited about this live stream. I'm like a little nervous. I don't, live streams are always like unpredictable, so you never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. Ever since COVID, something always seems to happen, during a Zoom or, live stream. So,
Yep.
um, but yeah, this is going to be great. And you know, to to kick it off, Brian, for those that don't really know your background, can you just give us a kind of like a brief overview of, how you got into the industry?
Yeah, 100%. Well, first off, I don't take it for granted if anybody even knows my name. So I'm Brian Fullerton. I live over here in Novi, Michigan. I got a beautiful wife named Liz and a little baby girl named Emmy. She's actually turning 1 next week, Tuesday. So life has been wild behind the scenes, as you guys can imagine. And then we run a company called Brian's Law Maintenance. We've been in business now for 17 seasons, which is crazy. I was that 10-year-old, 12-year-old little kid, push mowing, trailer park lawns. I grew up in a large trailer park, came from no means, no money, no, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody, one of those deals. But there was a whole story there where I cut grass as a kid, end up working for Little Caesars. You guys know like $5 hot and ready pizzas? You guys have those?
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. So I worked at Little Caesars for a few years. That was fun. Actually moved to True Green after that, spraying lawns for about a year and a half. I liked True Green. I didn't really like the chemicals, you know. And then there's a whole nother story, but I kind of got edged out of that company and decided to get back into lawn care at 20 years old. I'm 36 now, so it's been a wild ride. The first kind of decade of my business, if anybody knows my story, was not the most illustrious. But the last 4 or 5 years, I think we've kind of finally caught our stride, and it's been phenomenally different. We're definitely not a finished product. We're learning every day from folks like you guys for sure, and so many others. But yeah, we run a lawn maintenance company up here in Michigan. We have about 100 or so clients, about 85 residential, and then another 15 between commercial and HOA. And we got two full-time guys, including myself, and we do lawn, snow, and then a little bit of light landscaping. But we are the mow and blow guy, and we're having a blast doing it, man. It's been great.
Awesome.
Nice.
No, that's great. That's a great story. And we know you as the branding king here. So if you want to talk a little bit more about, branding and why that's important for business owners to develop, within the short term, and what does that mean within the long term too?
Well, that's a good question. We don't have any notes here, so I would say everybody always wants to be known for marketing, and marketing is one of the most important things we can do for our business, right? Marketing is simply the getting and keeping of customers, right? I mean, advertising is how you approach those customers. So branding is, I always say, like marketing is what you tell everybody about yourself. I think branding is what other people tell each other about who you are, right? So like when you guys think Apple, you guys think, oh, it's easy to use, it just works. Maybe a little bit more expensive, but we always think about that retail experience, and we think about using the product. It's super simple, right? So I think branding has like some beliefs and some expectations that come along with it. And so, for example, if you guys are out there trying to get customers and we're trying to market with, I don't know, door hangers, yard signs, customer referral programs. That's all great stuff. And then where you eventually want to also have another oar in the water, at least how I've seen the bigger companies do it, is have that branding element where your logo is recognized or known for something, right? Your name is known or recognized for something. Your reputation is known for something. So actually, there's a friend of mine. His name is Josh. He's over in Kansas City. And I asked another friend of mine, Blake, I said, hey, they're both in the same town. one does mowing, one does hardscaping. And I said, hey, what's Josh's reputation around town, Blake? And they said, Josh is known for high-end quality hardscaping and patios, design build work. And so to me, that would be a branding thing, because their company, right, it has an expectation out there in the marketplace. And so I think you're always trying to do that with building relationships, maybe marketing campaigns. Like, I mean, everybody sees McDonald's all over the place. We've all had McDonald's before, but they're always working on their branding, right, to get back out in front, to be a good company, to serve better tasting food and more healthy food. That might be a stretch, but so yeah, I think branding is an important thing to do. I think one of the more relatable examples is like maybe when you have like great trailer wraps and vehicle wraps, right? And you're at the gas station and somebody approaches the rig and they're like, hey, do you guys do landscaping? And you say, sure. And they say, well, give me a card, right? And then they say, well, I see your guys' rigs all around town. You guys are huge. And whether you have one rig or 10 rigs, most of the time we only have one or two crews, but that's a great litmus that your branding is starting to permeate right through the community. So that's one of those things where people are like, hey, I know of you. I know what you guys do. I've heard you guys, or I've seen you guys, or you did my neighbor's job. I think that's kind of what branding and reputation is to me. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like what people think of you or your company when they see your company, your logo. So that's great. And
yeah.
Brian, what attracted you to the more of the maintenance and lawn care area versus landscape and hardscape stuff?
Yeah, that's a simple answer. Reoccurring revenue. I mean, it's that simple. Like, I'm a very predictable person. That's my personality type. So for example, if I mow a lawn, I get paid. If I mow a lawn, I get paid. If I mow, I get paid. If I mow, I get paid. By the way, 17 years later, if I mow a lawn, I get paid. For me personally, though, let's think back 17 years ago. We have some clients that have been with us for 10, 15, 17 years. So I set them up one time. We mow the grass, 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 we mow the grass. We've done 26 weeks straight for 17 years. I mean, that's 25 times 20 is 500. We've done 450 cuts for some people for 17 years. So for me, it was a set it and forget it business model. Now, landscaping, you do a job, you finish the job, you have to go sell another job. It's get a customer, finish the job, get a customer, finish the job, get a customer, finish the job. And that's fine and that's cool. For me personally, I just wanted to build an ongoing revenue stream. And by the way, in the beginning, it was 20 grand a year, then it was 50 grand a year, then it was 100 grand a year gross, then it was 200 grand a year gross, right? Some people out there have $2, $4, $5 million gross companies. But for me, it was like little building blocks, right? And so I just figured if I keep adding a couple extra bricks, a couple extra customers, over time, that would probably ramp up. Now, I had to get my pricing right. I had to get my costs under control. I had to run and build an actual company. That took way longer than it should have. But the simple answer is I like reoccurring revenue. I like reoccurring business. The older I get, the more I don't want to be out and about selling jobs and doing estimates and getting away from family time. I always say, like, if you're 20 and you want to do hardscaping and make 400 grand with you and a couple buddies and you guys are just wild westing it, like, that's awesome. But for me, I just like the reoccurring revenue of lawn maintenance. But I'm not anti-landscaping or hardscaping. Those guys do an amazing job. I live vicariously through those guys. I just don't have the patience, to go on for 100 estimates and do 100 jobs and bid every job uniquely. Excuse me. Some guys, they love that. They can't stand mowing the same 25 lawns a day every week forever. So I totally respect that, because it does get a little monotonous.
Yeah.
When you're finishing the day and the job all at the same time, right? Like every day for years. So some guys love that one-off job. Like, they're on a landscaping job for 4 days. Every job is different. Every patio is unique. Every landscape job is unique. I like that. I like that too. I'm very predictable. I'd rather maybe not take the upside of landscaping. I'd rather just have like a solid core of business, book of business. Just to, I think really it's to help me project financially, like what I'm trying to do in life too, right? Like if I want a mortgage for 30 years and have a business that makes enough profit to pay for a mortgage for 30 years or something, right? Or pick your thing. At
Yeah.
least I know, like, as long as I don't get hit by a bus and the lawns get mowed, then I have reoccurring income to pay for liabilities that have reoccurring bills, if that makes sense. And
Right.
then, over time you can get out of debt and pay cash for things. But I think that's where I just like the predictability of knowing what I have coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And it becomes easier to plan within the business too, as far as staffing, your revenue
hmm
per employee and how much clients you would have to get on to get this much more revenue and so forth. So
Yeah.
I always say, like, if you're someone who wants to get into like the bigger landscape jobs
hmm
and stuff, you can always start off with recurring revenue, your maintenance, build that up until you have a good recurring stream to cover your overhead costs. And then you can go on and do your, not so predictable install jobs and stuff like that. So,
Well, I'll add to that because I think what you just said was on the money. I have a friend, his name is Brett. I've seen the last 5 years his company go like this, right? So anybody watching the replay later, maybe the audio of this, he was a heavy mowing business and a little bit of landscaping.
yeah.
Then he was half mowing, half landscaping. This year he's 4 days landscaping, 1 day mowing. And then
Wow.
next year he's 100% going into landscaping. But because he had a couple full-time guys, including adding himself to payroll and restructuring his company, like you said, he needed to make salary, right, for payroll. So those couple days of mowing, I call it pay the bill money. Like at least your salaries are met with your mowing. And then like you said beautifully, like your upside is the landscaping and those maybe higher ticket jobs or whatnot. You know what I mean? So over time, once you build that maybe reoccurring book of business with landscaping, which your landscaping customers are going to come back, but it's going to be every other year for mulch, every 3 years for landscaping, and every 5 to 7 years maybe for an overhaul, and then every 10 or 20 years for a hardscaping project. They just want to regut the whole backyard.
Yeah.
It takes time, right, to build that book of reoccurring landscaping business. So in the meantime, I think mowing can really fill in the cracks. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah. And it's no secret too, companies looking to acquire other companies. Recurring revenue is what companies want to see. Typically, and there's less risk to that as well. So
Sure,
really being
sure.
able to have those reoccurring contracts, um,
Yeah.
and um, I know you spend a lot of your time, Brian, talking with other landscape lawn care business owners. What are some things that you're seeing right now? Problems within the industry. Problems that business owners are facing.
That's a great question. I mean, I probably could give you like the top 10 and top 20 because it seems to be the top recurring problems, but it's not really even just related to lawn care. It's just entrepreneurship, right? I think elephant in the room, the most pressing topic just from current events is inflation, rising costs of everything. I think the most interesting thing right now that I'm getting asked, and I'm asking myself the same question, right, is how do we increase top line revenue? I think we all are because we're all pretty smart at raising our rates to a degree. I think if you're not raising your rates 15 to 20%, you're just going to get hammered by inflation alone on the top line number. And by the way, this is what you guys do. So give me some latitude with technical terms, but I'm seeing people sort of keep up, right, with top line numbers, but bottom line numbers, those margins are shrinking. So it's the question is, how do you increase top line revenue while trying to still keep or increase your bottom line revenue or net profit? right? Because maybe you didn't raise your rates as much as you wanted. That immediately is going to affect your bottom line. Maybe you raised your rates, but not enough, and that's going to affect your bottom line. Now, worst case scenario, I mean, there's 100 ways you could play this, but imagine if you maybe raised your rates 15%, but your costs are up 25%. Like, so people are getting hammered in their bottom line. So people are like, well, last year I did 400 grand. This year I'm doing 450. Okay, awesome. Last year you ran a 15% margin on 400 grand, but this year you're running a 7% margin on 450. So even though your numbers are up, you're less profitable. I'm seeing that everywhere. My own business is being affected by this. I mean, we're talking $4 and $5 gas. A box of lawnmower blades were 220 bucks.
Wow.
I said that there's got to be a mistake. Like, and my buddy Brad, he's like, no, dude, they're that's what they are now. And I was like, that's ridiculous, right? So fuel, I think a struggle too is for labor. Not everybody talks about you can't find good help. Whole nother story for a whole nother time, because that's true. I think outside of that, what some people aren't paying attention to is the wage stagnation. And so inflation's up 15%, and we're giving everybody 3 and 5% cost of living increase. And like wages went up, whatever, 6 or 8% across the board. But your employees' lifestyle is going backwards. They're making less because inflation is eating that wage growth alive. So
Yeah.
people are like, well, my guys last year were making 15, now they're making 18. Yeah, but the purchasing power is like eating that away. So they're actually making less than last year. And that's what some people just don't realize. So if your wages aren't going up 15 to 20% for your guys, their lifestyle is going backwards. How do you increase your guys' wages 20% without having customers cancel because your prices are getting out of control? But then you also have to keep enough profitability to make the business worth it, right?
Yeah.
This is, a lot of people know where I stand politically, but this is a very interesting economy that not too many people have weathered before, myself included. Last time half of this stuff happened was in 07, 08, but the inflation wasn't the same like back in 07, 08, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'm telling folks, like I've been screaming at the top of my lungs, and this is a little plug for Cycle, but if you don't pay attention to your numbers, and I really mean like have somebody look over your shoulder or hold you by the hand and like walk you through your P&L and your cash flow statement and your balance sheet. If somebody's not giving you a second set of eyes, unless you know how to absolutely interpret what all your numbers are screaming at you, then you really have to slow down to speed up. I would say like don't, like if the boat's flooding, right? Like, and you're just taking buckets out, like, dude, stop. We got to plug the holes first.
Yeah.
Like, and I just see people out there right now with buckets, like, I'm working hard, I'm working harder, I'm working harder. And I'm like, okay, we have to plug the holes first, right? Like, no amount of hard work of getting the water out of the boat is going to help when there's a huge gash on your hull, letting a flood of water in. And my heart goes out to people because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't have a good bookkeeper and a good CPA maybe to help you navigate this stuff, when you're by yourself, it's kind of scary. Like you're just stuck in the ocean and your boat's taking on water, right? If you will, in this analogy. So
Yeah.
my heart goes out to people because 5 years ago, I don't know if I would have been able to weather like the current economic whatever we're in right now, if I didn't have a better grasp on my numbers like I do today. Because 5 years ago, it was non-existent, right? My back end office. So and that's why I'm constantly asking Carl and Joe, like, hey, what do we do? How does this work? I'm on everything that you guys put on because I'm trying to learn too. Because I want to run a profitable company. I want to make money, and we all work way too hard to give it away for free, is what my friend Troy said just last week on one of my YouTube videos. So
Yeah.
No, it's
No.
true. And I think what we're seeing here with business owners is a lot of the time they're not updating their price list fast enough wherever that's housed. So whether that's,
amen.
on Aspire or QuickBooks, it's like, oh, I just did this like last quarter, my numbers shouldn't look like this. And it's like, he's like, oh, maybe I missed something. Okay, let's go through it. Okay, this is what I missed. And it's a bunch of, it
Yeah.
depends how long your price list is, but you need to look at that like every week at this
It,
point.
I agree. It's a moving target, right?
Yeah.
We all raise our prices 8, 10, 12%. I raised mine like 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay, I got to go with what it looks like, but what I actually feel. And I'm like, gas is up 100%. This is up 30%. This is up 40%. Everybody's saying inflation is 6, 8%. I'm like, I'm a very simple person. I'm like, there's no way those lines connect. There's no way those dots connect. So maybe you raise your rates 10% in anticipation for $4.50 gas. But what did you do when gas was $5.49 an average 5 weeks ago? So you're like, why did a rate increase in the spring? Well, it's very tacky, of course, right? To raise rates for mowing is a prime example mid-season. However, you have to do what you have to do, right? Like gas went up, your labor's going up, the cost of goods going up. By the way, 90% of us listening in probably use a version of QuickBooks. I just got an email. I don't know if you guys saw this. I got an email an hour ago. It's going up another like 10, 20 bucks. So who's paying for that? Again, my margins are shrinking if my price isn't increasing. So there's an aspect of, yeah, we have to run more lean and mean and efficient businesses. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is raising prices or even flip-flop them. Those are like number one and number two. You have to run a more lean business and raise those rates. But if you don't know that QuickBooks used to be, I was paying $25 like just a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I'm paying 55 or something dollars and it's going to like 80. And I have two QuickBook accounts and I'm like, I'm losing another $50 to $60 a month in lifestyle, which it's $50. It is what it is. But times 12 months, it's $600 a year. That's going to get sucked out of my family's budget, my business's budget. What am I doing to recuperate that? What am I doing to recoup that cost?
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, it's a really general way to look at it. But when you had mentioned all expenses are increasing, that's kind of how you look at it right now. And I think for companies that have leaned more towards volume and trying to really be the lowest price, and I think that they're going to be the ones even struggling even more than people that are leading with quality, reputation, because if you're able to tell the customer, we're going to be there, when we say we're going to be there, we're going to do what we say we're going to do, then the customer will see that value, and that's when you can have an honest conversation, be transparent with them about what's going on. So
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Greg Woodstock, he's one of the guys that I just love listening to. He's the pond guy over in Illinois. Great dude, crazy energy. Okay. He always says, don't put a value on a dollar bill like you would compared to how your customer would. So for long story short, you're doing a patio, it's 24 grand. And you're like, I would never pay 24 grand. We're in the business, right? You're like, I got 13 into this thing. There's no way I'd pay 24 grand. Sure, you wouldn't. But the customer is thinking, hey man, 24 grand seems like a pretty fair price to me.
yeah.
And if you say 24 or 24.5, the customer, like, that's not usually the conversation. Price is a factor, but more specifically, I would say they're wanting a reliable contractor, somebody who has integrity, somebody's going to show up, get the job done, no excuses, deliver on the promise of like this dream backyard patio and lifestyle, right? Like that's what we're selling. And so if you're like, well, I can't increase my prices, I assure you two things. One, you're not talking to the right customers, which goes back to what we talked about earlier, marketing and branding. But number two, like you have to run a profitable business. Like, okay, let me even asterisk that. Maybe you're in the philanthropy business. I am not.
Somewhere accidentally, I think, in that business.
I you know what? It's funny. Like I get hit up all the time, Joe, for nonprofits. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you're a nonprofit, seeking the profit of a company, my company. So why don't you just run a profitable company and then do all of your missions? Like, go sell something, run a successful business, and then out of profits of your company, go save the world. But like, it's not my job to run a profitable company to underwrite your mission. So, that's a whole other story. But yeah, like I would say so many people are running a philanthropy business. You might as well go from an LLC S corp to a 5031. And look at nobody here is preaching on Sunday, so I don't think that's the way you want to do it. Okay, like, and I'm being funny and being a little bit of a butthead, but at the end of the day, it's 95 degrees out. Customers are calling you, people are stressed out, your employees are putting in work, or we're breaking our backs, we're working late, we're setting up proposals at 11 o'clock at night. We're doing snow here in a couple more months, right? Snap our fingers, it'll be 10 degrees in the Midwest and the Northeast. You're wrenching on plows at 2:30 in the morning with 20-mile-an-hour winds. Get paid for that nonsense, and don't give it away. So I think that's just, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I can relate to people that are, hey, if it's $25 or $40, what difference does it make? It makes all the difference, because I say this a lot of my content that I put out, but you don't usually get put out of business because somebody hits you with a 2x4 across the head. I've noticed in business, very rarely it's something like that. Usually I call it death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? It's not this crazy 2x4 that clocks you. We didn't expect that or see that coming. Usually it's, man, you just get exhausted because you're not profitable, so you're not excited. And then you realize, like, what's the point? I might as well just go work for one of the companies that I buy from and become a sales rep making 75 grand, get a company truck and a company cell phone.
Yeah.
And you know what? That doesn't sound half bad half the time, does it? So it's just like in marriage, like most marriages don't typically end because of a crazy affair or something wild like that. They end because you're apathetic and cold and not sincere or sweet or whatever to your wife or spouse or your husband for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then something happens that's like the last straw that breaks the camel's back, right? So it's all those little things you have to start paying attention to and combing through your P&L, right, with a fine comb brush. And I will say this, like, maybe you're not good at paying attention to it, because I wasn't. I'm still not the best. But somebody has to on your team. I mean, that's the one thing I'll keep saying, like, somebody has to be paying attention to the numbers. And maybe that's Carla, maybe that's Joe, maybe that's somebody that you have in-house or on staff. But if you're not paying attention to the numbers, I'm telling you, those things are going to get away from you. Your profit is going to diminish and shrink. You're going to start needing new equipment, and you're going to go, where's my money? And same thing with like accounts receivables. Like, you got 10, 20 grand owed to you, and you're so excited about finishing the next job, but you never collected on the last 4 jobs, right? So I'm telling you what, like my friend Mike, he's a mentor of mine. He spends half his Monday now, before he ever runs out the door to do an ounce of new work for the new week. He spends 3 or 4 hours every Monday religiously in his office getting a little mental health check, but a business financial health check, right?
Wow.
What's my accounts receivable? What am I doing this week? What's the calendar? Just taking a couple extra hours on the front end can save so much extra strife on the back end. And I couldn't be more sincere, folks. I'm telling you, I was the run around with chicken with its head cut off guy for a decade, burning up mowers, burning up engines, just never, I was not banking 10, 20, 50, 100 grand a year over year, right? I was the proverbial shoebox full of receipts guy. And it's funny, but it was not fun conversation come March and April when you're just, throwing the crapshoot, seeing, hey, do we get back 5 grand or do we owe 5 grand? Like, do we get back 15 grand or do we owe 15 grand? Do we get back 50 grand or do we owe 50 grand? Right? Like, if you don't know, then I just implore people to like find somebody that's further down the road, a Joe and a Carla or whoever your person is, and just go to dinner, humble yourself, have a call, have a Zoom, have something, right? Actually open up your QuickBooks and go, what do these numbers mean? And I'm telling you, I'm not a finished product by any means, I'll tell you that, but I can't be more sincere when I say, like, I just see so many guys working so hard, myself included, and you guys deserve such a first class lifestyle, like all of our customers we're doing work for.
Yes.
But if we're not being smart, right, then it's kind of like it's for naught, like you can do this beautiful patio, but if you didn't make 2, 5, 10 grand on it, what's the point? What's the point? So it's get paid for your work, man. You guys do amazing work, artisan work, like where everybody says contractors are like unicorns these days. You can't find a good contractor, from a pool guy to a roofing guy to a handyman. And then you come in there and you're like $20. And it's like, no, bro, like you're worth top dollar. Okay. You're worth top dollar.
Yeah. No, I love that, Brian. And I think it's a lot of it is a mindset, it's thinking from being a practitioner, which is why many people get into the space, but then understanding and it's funny because we see people hit that point at different levels,
Sure.
and it's that next level of, wow, I'm a business owner. And if I'm going to grow and if I'm going to continue being a practitioner, if I'm going to build even on the personal side of someone's life, build a life that, you're proud of, and, you can live and, provide for your family. It becomes something where, profits and cash flow, it all helps that, so it's kind of, it's that shift in mindset. So,
well, I'll say, like imagine the alternative, right? Corporate America, pay to love it. It is what it is. But imagine in corporate America, you have your budgets, you have your weekly accountability meetings, and you say, I don't know. You say, I don't know. I don't know where we're at. I don't know where we're at. How much did you spend this week? We're not sure in my department. How much did you make in your department? We're not sure. You guys have quarters, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Just finished Q2. If you took these same habits in the corporate America, you would get fired. You wouldn't last. But then we start our own business. We cast off the reins, the restraint, and we say, I'm self-employed. I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, well, you're the owner and CEO of your company. Do you think a CEO of Microsoft right now is winging it with their budget projections for 2022 or 2023? Like, if we just really got like to the other end of the spectrum and got very mature, no company in America, from one employee to Amazon, is winging it, right? Nobody, right? So at the end of the day, we're really good at a craft. Everybody, whether you lay stripes or you lay bricks, we're always so proud of our craft, as we should be, right? Like, we're artisans, from mowing grass to laying bricks. But at the end of the day, like, you have to spend time in the back end office. It's not a, hey, you should, or it would be nice. It is a must. I'm telling you, that's what changed my life. Because, yeah, Joe, to go full circle, when I was a single guy, didn't really matter. As long as I had $50 in my pocket to go get Chipotle, no big deal. When you want new vehicles, or a mortgage, or you're having a baby, you want to have a full-time wife or stay-at-home mom, like, you have to go. It goes back to those projections, right? I knew what number we had to hit to be able to bring my wife home to be a full-time wife and then eventually mom. I'm telling you guys, I couldn't be more honest and sincere in this conversation. Like, I'm about to break ground on a home. My mortgage, what do they call him? Loan officer. He's, of course, going through our last 2 years of tax returns, my monthly income statements, my not salaries, but my pay stubs. Like, it's a real loan. It's a real mortgage. It's a real, for building a really nice home, right? All this other stuff. So, like, you have to get these numbers in play, or you're just, you're just not going to be able to buy or finance the things you need to get your life going. So I can't be more sincere. I was that guy. I couldn't tell you, other than like what's in my Chase checking account with my mobile app. Oh, there's 2 grand in there. Oh, there's 10 grand in there. Oh, there's 50 grand in there. Oh, there's it. That only tells like a snapshot, right? You need to get the full story. You need to really dive into your numbers, and it is the least. I'll say the elephant in the room. It's probably the least sexy thing that everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
It is. We would all rather go to the trade show and look at mowers and lay stripes and post our photo on Instagram. But I'll tell you what, I've been on Instagram for 4 years. I have never seen a single post ever out of anybody I follow snapshotting their office or their P&L. Interesting thought.
Yeah.
I've seen a million photos of everybody's work, of everybody's employees, everybody's rig, everybody's truck and trailer, and the landscape job they did, and the beautiful trees and the flowers. I've never seen anybody share any about, hey, just spending 3 hours in my office working on my P&L today and making sure my numbers look good. Right? Like, why is that? Why is that?
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. I just kind of came up with that one, but it's true. It's true. Like, any which way, not to beat a dead horse, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely something to think about. And we got a question from Luis Gomez. He said, as we've built a reputation, we've invested with making sure our bills are paid with some debt, with the proper equipment and paying our guys well. We've gone to a fair rate with some profit, but as we go into the year, should we raise our rates now in 2022, or should we do it in early 2023? What are your thoughts?
I heard this one from Stanley Dirt Monkey at one of our conferences before. Last like 4 years ago, he said raise your rates in the summer and the fall, because that's when people are. It sounds bad, but this is the truth. People aren't shopping for another lawn care provider as kids go back to school in August. Right? I mean, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Right? If any single thing I know around me right now said QuickBooks just said, hey, we're raising it $20, I'm like, those bastards, like I'm not, I'm not, I'm not going to Aspire or whoever else, or Ramp, I'm not going to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's so inconvenient, right? So my point is, as long as the value's there, that's your litmus. If you raise it $2 and your customer freaks out, then there's more going on than the $2.
Yeah.
If they appreciate you and you're a quality provider and quality contractor, and you go up $5, they're going to go, honey, you've been doing an amazing job. We get it. Everything's going through the roof. Sure, I'm not happy about it, but yeah, go ahead, honey. You and you guys have been doing an amazing job. Okay, let's think about this to its logical conclusion. You're not going to switch providers in the summer. If you're doing landscape jobs, everything should be priced appropriately because you're doing one-off jobs, right? So you did one patio for $5,000, and the next, all things being equal, the next job might be $5,100, right? So landscaping is a constantly moving target. You can always adjust those prices. Mowing, I would say right now is a great time of year to raise rates. I would say do it at the end of a billing cycle. Right? Don't switch over somebody like the third week of July or August or whatever, right? Finish out that month. Be respectful. Give them a 30-day notice. Hey, or 2-week notice. Hey, we're going to be raising your rate August 1st. QuickBooks did that. QuickBooks said, hey, September 1, right? So I have what is that? 4.5, 5 weeks if I want to switch. I'm not. But they didn't say, hey, by the way, August 1st, because I'd be like, dude, you didn't give me enough time to leave. I wouldn't leave anyway, right? But you don't want to trap people, right? I'll also say, and I got this from Stan, if you're starting to book landscaping for the following year, this is a great time to throw out the higher price because you don't need it, right? You don't need it right now. And then next year, those prices can be significantly higher. Stanley always says the wolves are the hungriest in the spring because they just went through winter. And so what does everybody and their brother do in February, March, April, May? They market like crazy. I want to get a bunch of new customers. I want to expand my business. So the competition is infinitely higher in the spring. So the prices what? Go down, right? Like imagine that. If a homeowner has a subdivision lawn and they have a mailbox out front, they're getting 20 postcards for lawn and landscaping service, right? How many people are getting postcards right now for lawn and landscaping service? None, right? So when you have that customer, you can have that conversation now and you already booked that job for next year, right? You bypass the BS of having to price haggle with somebody else in April, May, June because they're getting bids from 12 other people because they're all hungry because they have the time on the calendar after winter. So
Yeah.
book that stuff now for next year. Raise those rates for mowing now. Nobody's going to cancel you. By the way, I've said this. I'm sure you guys have said this. You have 10 customers. You raise everybody 10% and one falls off. Well, you're doing the same work. Well, you're doing less work and getting the same amount of money. I mean, ask your employees if they like the sound of that. So,
Yeah,
hey, boss,
retaining employees.
yeah, we only have to mow 9 lawns today instead of 10. Yeah, I raised everybody $4. Oh, awesome, boss. Like, I mean,
do it again.
that's how it works. Oh, that's my story. I went from 120 to 85 residentials. It's more revenue with my 85 now than my 120 because we righted our ship the last 4 years by probably about 30% on our revenue.
Wow.
So I'd rather mow 85 and take care of 85 and do a good job for 85 than to be spread thin and just, we got to get to the next one, got to get to the next one, got to get to the next one. Yeah, great question. I think I know the gentleman you're talking about. I think I've followed him vice versa on Facebook or Instagram. If you guys have feedback and you guys have comments too, leave them on this Facebook video or the live stream because I'm going to go back through and watch the comments. I don't have the opportunity to see them right now, but I love interacting with you guys and this is a lot of fun. I love this kind of stuff, Joe.
Cool. Yeah, no, it is fun. And no, I guess also before we forget to mention, we got a big event coming in November, the
Yes, sir.
Entrepreneur Academy Live 2022. So can you give us just a brief overview of that? Carl and I are going.
Yeah, we're
Yeah. I was just gonna say I'm so honored to have you guys in. Yeah, I'm telling you, like this stuff is near and dear to me. We could have anybody coming in. We have a lot of great people coming in, and I also said I want to have Carla and Joe there. So we're gonna talk about numbers, and we're just before we hit record and live stream on this. I was like, hey, can we maybe talk about this and this? And you guys got excited. I got excited because you got excited. So it's gonna be really good. But yeah, it's long story short. It's a lawn care conference that we're hosting in November up here in Novi, Michigan. You can get tickets at launchpreneuracademy.com. It's a training website. We have a lot of great resources for those folks trying to start a green industry business. But one thing that I've noticed over the years, right, we've all made friends. Like Luis is asking this question, and I've gotten to know so many Luises and friends and people. And, long story short, though, like there's not a huge community out there for us to all plug into, right? Like Facebook groups are great, but I like face-to-face interaction. I like to meet other people. I always joke that are as crazy as I am, right? So, so what we did is we noticed this void kind of a couple of years ago. We put together this conference. There's 150 people there the first year, 250 people the second year, 350 people almost last year. We're capping it at 400 this year because we rented out the whole wing of this conference center. It's massive. We're talking full stage and screens and lights and trusses. I mean, like this is a 6-figure budget. It's wild. But we have the best of the best people that I can get access to. We've had the Keith Kalfuses on YouTube. We've had the Stanley Dirt Monkeys. We've had Josh Latimer, who's in the service industry business. We've had Caleb and Brittany Allman, who are amazing hardscapers in Ohio. Everybody that hits the stage, we try to have them have a 7-figure business or above and just talk practical, life stuff for you guys. This year, we have James Mansky from Elkhorn Lawn Care. He's got a $4 or $5 million company in Nebraska. We have Mark Bradley, who founded LMN, but before that had a $50 million landscaping business in Canada. Wow. I think we can all learn one or two things from him. We have Nick Carlson. He ran a couple $1 million business and now runs a really successful manufacturing business that a lot of people have heard of out there called Mulchmate in Dawson Manufacturing. So we have 7 or 8 different speakers coming in. If I name one, you got to name them all, but just to save some time, it's the best of the best. But for every hour, we have speaker sponsor, speaker sponsor, speaker sponsor. We've had such a great turnout, so much great feedback. It's over here in Novi, Michigan, November 12th, Saturday. Fly up, drive up. The event is attached to the hotel and vice versa. So you get your hotel room, you walk down to the lobby, you're at the conference. Like Friday night before, for all of you speed freaks and crazy people like me, we rented out a whole indoor go-kart track, like high speed
Ooh,
professional indoor go-karts. They're freaking crazy fast and wild. We had
Colin's
150
gonna be
people
out of
left.
control over there, Brian.
Yeah, I like that
This isn't
already.
good.
Like,
Dude,
I'm really
Colin's always
good
like
at
faster,
that.
faster,
oh
faster.
yeah, oh yeah. I
Oh
look,
I
no.
have
I
the
mean,
need for speed.
yeah, there you go. We look, we work hard, we play harder, okay? Like I know we're talking business and numbers and knowing your numbers, but like you got to have fun too. I'm a big don't take life too serious kind of a person. So I like going fast. So we rented out this whole go-kart track. It's a mile down the road. It's extremely easy to get to. We have like a Grand Prix style thing where like everybody runs heats and then we do like the final race and some prizes for the winners, but it's totally free for anybody who's coming to the event. I mean, it's so much fun. And here's what I'll tell you, like where else are you going to get around like-minded people that are doing what you're doing, that understand the kind of struggles you're going through and can relate, and then give you some business best practices and advice and suggestions. And there's motivation, there's the practical, right? There's this year we're really trying to focus on X's and O's and how to go from where you're at to where you want to get to and add crews and add people and add divisions. It's going to be a really exciting thing. I'll tell you guys straight up, the ticket price is $200. The I can give you 4 or 5 other conferences that I know go on in our industry right now, and the ticket prices for all of them are at a minimum 5 times as much or more. And I'm telling you, like, I'm not trying to put our up and other people down, nothing like that. I'm just saying I know other conferences charging $1,500, and they wouldn't hold a candle to James Mansky and Mike Andes and some other guys that I have coming in, flying people from all across the country. Okay, so it's gonna be a wild time. You guys are coming up. I'm having you guys share for 20-30 minutes about knowing your numbers. I'm so genuinely excited. Liz is gonna be there. My mom comes. She's like, "This is amazing." Like, she she thinks we're all crazy. She's like, "You guys are gonna talk about lawn care all day?" I go, "Sort of, but not really," you know. So I just want to extend an invitation. If you guys want to maybe check that out, I would say just come once, check it out. We have so many people coming 4 years in a row now, so that's got to say something. Of course, I'm the sales guy. I want to get you there, but if people are coming year after year after year, that has to say something, and it's so much fun. I encourage everybody to come on out. If you're a flight to Detroit is $200-300. It's not crazy. If you're anywhere in the Midwest, to me, you're local. You're 5, 6, 8 hours away. Drive, like road trip. Get out of here, man. Like take a day off from the business. Let's go have some fun. Let's go learn. Get around some other great people. Drive some go karts. Eat some nachos, and have some fun. So anybody who wants to check that out, launchpreneuracademy.com. But I'm honored to talk about it for a minute. Thank you, and then we can't wait to have you guys up there as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and we just put the link in the comments here to the page where you can check out the event and buy the tickets as well. So we're
Thank you,
really
sir.
looking forward to heading over there. And yeah, I guess Brian, do you have anything else for the community here before we get going?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I love sharing, dude. I tell you guys, my heart just goes out. All the content that I put out, I always say I try to put out there for the Brian Fullerton of 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I just try to leave like little breadcrumbs. I do not have it all figured out, I'll tell you that. But I've had some great access to some of the smartest people ever, like Troy Clogg. He's coming to our conference this year. I mean, runs a $20 million company. Just insane, right? I've just had so much opportunity to get around all these different people because of all the social media stuff. So I'm always just trying to pour it back out there. So that's kind of my MO. But I'll tell you guys what, if I can do anything to help you guys out, like shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I'm on everything just like you guys are. But I just tell you guys what, man, like work for it, dream big. I came from nothing, no money, no influence, nobody, none of that stuff. And I'll tell you guys what, if you if you really want to go for it in just 2, 5, maybe 10 years for some of us that are the slow learners like myself, you 100% can change your stars. And I just, I think the American dream is still alive. I think it's vivid and vibrant. I think if you want to change your stars, if you want to go build a business, if you want to make 100, 200 grand a year, whatever that number is for you, $1 million a year, I think it's still wide open. And I just want to keep spreading that message of hope that you can start a successful business. And maybe your business is on life support like mine was for a decade. That's okay. All right. It's okay. We'll get it fixed. Plug into Carla, plug into Joe, plug into whoever your person is. But you know what? Like, the American dream is still real. Entrepreneurship is still alive and well in this country. I know we've got our own problems back at home, right? All this kind of stuff. But nonetheless, you can run a successful company and take care of your family, man. You can really take care of your family and give them that first class lifestyle that they deserve. So that's just my encouraging word to all of you guys out there. I'm not a finished product. I'm in the hunt with you guys. That's the most exciting part. I think we're all kind of figuring this all out together, right? But at the end of the day, if I can ever help you guys out, I'm an open book. Do a coaching call, shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Instagram, whatever I can do to help you guys out. I'm always here for you. All right.
Awesome. Love
Thank you,
it.
Brian.
Love it. Thank you again for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. No, thank you for having me. I'm honored. This is awesome. So thanks so much, guys.
Awesome.